Hi there everyone, this is Laura and we are back with our second webcast of the Mapping Your Dream Telesummit series. This webcast I'm actually going to repurpose an amazing paid seminar that I ran in the fall, and it was very much the same subject that we were going to be doing tonight, The Secrets of Legendary Event was the name of the seminar that I originally got this material back from for you guys, and I decided to repurpose it as a free training here for you tonight. I thought it was a really good fit for this telecast summit because we do have so many people who've signed up for this summit series who are planning on doing large events. And one part that I've been really blessed to do a lot of in my training so far in Successful Spirit Online and Successful Spirit Masterminds and Summit is training up event organizers in the healing arts. So what you're going to hear in this webcast is me coaching a group of people through this with a real eye to one of my inner circle members who's also running a large yoga event, very much like the yoga event that I run every year, the Flagstaff Yoga Festival. Her name is Jules Mitchell and she joins me on this call, and she runs an event called the South Bay Yoga Conference. And I think even if you're not planning on doing a large live event like Flagstaff Yoga Festival or South Bay Yoga Conference, you're really going to get a lot of benefit out of listening to this call, because I address far more than just the yoga events that Jules and I are really well known to do. But it's a great jumping off point for an amazing training that I think many people will find incredibly helpful. So I hope you enjoy tonight's webcast. It is a previously recorded session, but I think you'll get a lot of benefit from it. So enjoy. This training is absolutely going to be very, very helpful for all of you. So Jules, can you really quickly, because I don't have, we've got such a large group on the call tonight, I don't have chat enabled. Are you able on your screen right now to see the first slide of my presentation? It's got the little Successful Spirit Summit logo up there in the corner and then the purple Secrets of a Legendary Event image in the center of it. Do you see that? Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah. Good. So I'm going to assume that everyone can see the slide, and we will get going because I think we're past 4 o'clock today. So yeah, that's what we're aiming to do on the call tonight, is just download on you some of my experience running large and small virtual and live events, on and offline, in person and elsewhere. And so let's get started here because we've got a lot to cover. I put this slide together just to sort of give you guys an idea of what Flagstaff Yoga Festival is all about, if none of you have actually physically been to the event before. The slide up in the top right corner, you can actually see a picture there of one of our main workshops from 2010, I think, and the instructor in the center of that ballroom there is Amber Samplin, who is also a masterminder with us, with me and Jules. And Amber and our friend Chris are doing a Rock and Flow Fusion Festival, which they're also masterminding and training with us on. So I popped that one in there because the first time I saw Amber sort of do her Rock and Flow thing was with Larissa Stowe and the Shakti Tribe, who you can sort of see in the very background of that image. And then she came and did that at the Flagstaff Yoga Festival for us. So it's sort of events within events, and in the bottom left-hand corner you can sort of see me doing one of my little events at the Flagstaff Yoga Festival. There's a workshop at the festival that I ran this year called Zen and the Art of Marketing for Yogis. But generally, I mean, the entire Flagstaff Yoga Festival, just to give you some background on that event, we've done 3 years of it now. We just did our third in August of this year, and it's going strong and just getting bigger every year. It's about 1,000-person event over the course of 3 days. But, well, Jules, you were there. It doesn't really feel like 1,000 people, does it, when you're there? It feels a lot smaller, I think.
No, not at all. Yeah, it's very intimate.
It's a very, very intimate event, because what we've actually done there is we take over this school, this Waldorf school called Pine Forest, and they have about 9 classrooms. And so for any one given workshop slot, we take over the classes at the school, and we have 9 workshops running concurrently at the same workshop slot. And there's 15 different workshop slots, which translate to being, close to around about 100 total workshops over the course of 3 days. But in any one given workshop, there's between somewhere around 20 or 30 attendants usually. And then over the course of the 3 days, we see about 1,000 people come through the festival overall. But it feels like a much more intimate event. But certainly a very large event. 1,000 attendees is certainly nothing to be sneezed at. We actually can't get any bigger than that here in Flagstaff because it is actually quite a rural town, and we've filled the largest spaces that we can. The picture of Jules and her rock and flow session in the ballroom there is actually one of the 6 spaces we had at the largest hotel in northern Arizona in our second year. We filled the largest hotel, and we went back to the school this year because we were too big for the hotel, basically. And the school worked better for me anyway, and I'll sort of tell you a little bit about that as we get into the call. But so I'm Laura. I'm the Flagstaff Yoga Festival director and host. And Flagstaff Yoga Festival, the marketing of it, in order to fill the space and get all of these people at this really large event, looks very, very different than how a lot of yoga events run and roll. And that's what sort of intrigued Jules to start working with me and coaching her as part of the Successful Spirit Mastermind group, which I'll tell you a little bit more about later. But I'd love to give you just a little bit of background on what it sort of took for me to put the Flagstaff Yoga Festival together and sort of all of the things that have made it just a really groovy event over the last 3 years. But then I'm going to back up after that, and I'm going to sort of put myself back in you guys' shoes where I was at, 3 years ago, or 4 years ago, I guess, before I started the festival, and why I decided the festival was a good thing to do in the first place, because I think you guys will get a lot of insight as to why it's just a cool thing to run a large event, whether it's online or offline, virtual, large or small, why I really think planning and executing and directing an event for your community, whatever you think your community is, whether it's a community that's bonded through a common interest or a common location, why I just think that's really the way to go, not only just for the grooviness of bringing a community together, which is brilliant, but also just from a marketer's point of view, why I think it's a fantastic idea. And then I'll show you how to go and rock out those events. So let's get started here. And I'm just going to give you a little bit of background on sort of some of the cool high points of what Flagstaff Yoga Festival was inspired by, and sort of what it became through some really interesting avenues. On either side of the Flagstaff Yoga Festival banner on this slide, you see the Texas Yoga Retreats banner, which I think is really cute. Jules was actually masterminding with our group about her logo for South Bay Yoga Conference this year. And Jules, this would never work for you and I, but I just look at it. It's like a Namaste Om that's a cowboy. It just
I know.
It's so awesome. And yeah, so it's like Texas Yoga Retreat was actually the event that I was very inspired by to even start the Flagstaff Yoga Festival in the first place. And it was really just a fantastic event that I got the privilege of going to about 3 to 4 years ago for the first time. And it was actually part of my my teacher training to go and attend this event. So yeah, that was sort of my background with my first experience of a large yoga event. And what really made the Flagstaff Yoga Festival and the Texas Yoga Retreat sort of an inspiring new idea for me was that there were no large names, like rock star names, at this event at all. It was all local, regional, community teachers. In fact, Texas Yoga Retreat's rule back then was that they only had presenters come from Texas, with the explicit intention of just really bringing the whole community up. And I loved that idea. And it actually felt a fair bit different for me going to Texas Yoga Retreat than it did a large national yoga conference, because it just, the national ones for some reason were sort of pulling me out of my own yoga and into the
rock star on the front of the stage or, at the front of the room or whatever. And I thought, well, hang on a minute, that's not really what yoga's all about, is it? It's really about your own experience and growing your own practice and bonding with the community, not about this one big person over there or something. So the unofficial motto that I then took on when I was inspired to do Flagstaff Yoga Festival was no rock stars, and it became all about community. So that's where my event's coming from, and the inspiration was very much Texas Yoga Retreat. And then the logo on the right-hand side there you see is the Bisbee Yoga Expo's logo, which is no more. It was an event that took place for 8 years in Bisbee, Arizona, and the folks at Bisbee reached out and did a lot with us in the first year of our festival, and they then stopped running it for many different reasons. But it was a very similar kind of vibe, just a community event, a small regional festival rather than a national scene. But the thing was, even though I was very inspired by these two events, what I saw with both of them was that they both seemed to be sort of, they could have used more ticket sales. Let's just say that. and the thing with the ticket sales deal, I noticed was coming up time and time again for event after event that I talked to. So what I was very fortunate to find in my first year of planning the festival was a mentor, not from the yoga community, but from the information marketing community called Brendan Bouchard. And I masterminded with Brendan, and he became my mentor for the next 3 years. Brendan had a completely different model for running events that I'll teach you a little bit more about later. But I went off and taught myself basically a completely different business model to run Flagstaff Yoga Festival. I ended up partnering with organizations like the American Liver Foundation, the American Cancer Society, Sierra Club, Big Brothers Big Sister, the Waldorf School that we now have it at. We partnered with their capital campaign. We partnered with Naturopaths International, the Grand Canyon Wolf Recovery Project, KNAU, which is our local NPR syndicate station. And what happened with these nonprofit partners that we brought on board and really worked to raise funds for is we quickly got a lot of reach because we were running it that way and really, driving a ton of awareness and service to these nonprofits. We were then able to spin out some pretty large sponsorships, including Horizon Airlines and the Los Angeles Times. We were getting so well known, and I'd been doing all of this work with information marketing as well, that we ended up being picked up a lot in the search engines like Google. And you can see this is like a screenshot from my very first year, where, I guess this was from last year because I see the Wanderlust logo there as well. But Wanderlust, you guys know them. They're a very, very large national scene with a lot of money behind them. And then there's little old Flagstaff Yoga Festival in the search results right underneath them. Usually we're about number 3 globally if you search for Yoga Festival, depending on what sandbox you're in. But that's usually where we sort of rank is right under the big national festivals. There's us. We're this little regional festival, no real marketing budget, no big names touting the glories of our event. But Google thinks we're sort of a big deal. And I'll show you guys why that happened the way it did a little later in this call. I've worked a lot over the last few years with really drilling down on my search engine optimization, which is what that is. And because of the search engine optimization that was happening and the publicity we were getting through our nonprofits and our sponsors, we ended up being randomly picked up and put into content of Yoga Journal in, I think that issue there that I've got the screenshot of there is, I think it's February 2010 is when they did a little blurb on us. And I got all of these calls from my friends that day saying basically hey, congratulations on the Yoga Journal exposure. And I had no idea that we were being put in Yoga Journal, guys. It was completely out of the blue. I hadn't talked to anyone at Yoga Journal. All they had done is they had decided to do an article on yoga events around the country and sort of list them all out for the year. Just sort of that was the content that they decided to put in that month. And so the best I can figure, they just Googled Yoga Festival, found my event, and they basically copied and pasted information about the Flagstaff Yoga Festival and just plopped it right into Yoga Journal. And that is like a pretty phenomenal thing to happen, you know. So like the search engine optimization and the publicity that we were getting through our partners ended up with basically attaining, you know, what would have been considered the holy grail, I suppose, of yoga publicity, right? In an article in the Yoga Journal. You know, I sized it. I sized like the little blurb they gave us and everything. And if I were to have actually paid for that to go in there, it would have been about an $800 to $1,000 ad that just, you know, random content. It just ended up in there anyway. You know, and you can see Steph Lindsay, one of our presenters there. They did this massive article on this festival coming to Flagstaff in Mountain Living magazine, which is a pretty big deal here in Flagstaff. We got a front page article in Sunday Living, like we were like the front and center spread in Sunday Living the Sunday before the festival in our paper, the Arizona Daily Sun. And KNAU did some work with us too. So did the Examiner this year and Lululemon. So it's just like, this is just a page to kind of show you what we were able to do following a very radically different business model than normally what you would see events do. And I'm going to kind of break that down for you over the next, you know, hour or so. So just to kind of give you a little bit of advice here, you probably don't want to go as crazy as I did over the last couple of years with learning all of the information marketing stuff that you see on this page that I've been doing and playing with, and there's plenty more. These are just the things that probably ate up most of my time in the last few years, some of it which were wonderful things to learn and some of which were complete rabbit holes that you guys completely just don't need to go down. So I'm going to go ahead and you know, just kind of hopefully make the process for you a lot easier than it was for me gathering all the resources to run this event, because I actually immersed myself, partially because I think it's a fun thing to do, but I really immersed myself for the last 3 years in information marketing to build the Flagstaff Yoga Festival to what it is today. And I'm going to kind of share the highlights of that with you here today so that you hopefully will have some shortcuts on your journey to your successful event. So, but I'm going to backtrack right now and start off just basically with the question, well, why did I even do all of that, right? Why did I go through all of that just to do the Flagstaff Yoga Festival? Was it really worth 3 years of my life to kind of start that process up, you know, and to undergo the process of running the festival? Well, it was worth it. But basically, what I really find that the main worth for the event was twofold. It was a community builder, and it was a platform builder. And I'm going to explain both to you. I'm going to back up about 3 to 4 years and just kind of give you sort of the scene of what my life was like before I started the festival. I just graduated from my yoga teacher training program, and I just started teaching in some studios in town. And Flagstaff generally is still considered a pretty small town. At that time in that year, NPR had run a whole series just on Flagstaff, all about Flagstaff, and they'd called it Poverty with a View. That was the name of the NPR mini-series about Flagstaff, Arizona. And what I guess that title meant, even though I'm really not crazy about that title at all, I really have a beef with it. Flagstaff is a very blue-collar sort of working men's town, very working income. But it's in a very beautiful place, right? It's 7,000 feet in the pine trees of northern Arizona, in the most rural county in the United States. The town hovers around a permanent residence in the town of about 50,000 people, although that does swell in the summer to about 75,000, you know, because we have out-of-town visitors and things. And then during the school year, you could also argue that it's about 75K if you include the residents at Northern Arizona University. But when you're actually in and around town, it's about 50K. And that really is the largest town in the surrounding region. The closest large city is 2.5 hours away in Phoenix, Arizona, most rural county in the United States. So what I was finding when I started teaching yoga here, of course, was that the studios they were all sort of struggling, and I would maybe have 2 people come to my class, which feels really bad for a beginning teacher because you start getting really self-conscious and you think, oh no, maybe it's me and maybe there's something wrong with my teaching style. And then you sort of pull back and you go, hang on, no, it's a really small town and these studios just really aren't doing the best job of marketing themselves and nobody knows they're here, and then you start feeling a bit better about yourself. But I realized as I looked around that as small as this town was, there were actually an inordinately large number of yoga teachers in this town. And yoga teachers that I knew and loved. A lot of them actually were parents at my kids' school, and I loved them. I loved their classes. So I just started looking around and realizing that everyone was sort of struggling to make ends meet as a yoga teacher, and really where the true business was going to be for all of us, even though we loved teaching our individual classes, the real deal was going to start and happen for us when we really got to do workshops, right? So that was really sort of where it was at for me all of a sudden as a teacher. I realized the value of maybe one day I would start running workshops and retreats, and that looked a lot more attractive for me to a few reasons. One, because it would save me all of this time in my schedule, and I was a mom and I wanted to stay home with my kids rather than be totally scheduled out every week. And I just really totally love the idea of like doing a yoga retreat on a beach in Costa Rica somewhere. That was just one of those like dreams that I had. So I started thinking, well, if I'm in this boat and everyone else in my community of yoga teachers here seems to be in the same boat, then maybe what we should do is start thinking of ways to work together, right? So I started asking the question, well, who is promoting me and my community? Who is there giving us platform? Who is promoting us? And as a group, the answer was nobody, pretty much. So one of the first ideas that came to me was, well, hey, we should totally band together and do an event together, and everyone would benefit. If everyone, got excited about the event and told everyone else about it, then in essence, we'd be sort of crowdsourcing our entire community of yoga teachers' reach to gain a community-wide platform. And I had this idea that maybe if we all pooled everyone that loved all of our stuff, together we could run a large event. And if we could somehow capture that crowdsourced platform and put our workshop offerings out and our offerings for more of our services to a larger group out there as a group, if we could all support each other doing that, then we'd all be doing better than just trying to make it on our own as these little silo islands that weren't really collaborating together. So the first real benefit to running a large festival that I saw was that it was really about promoting my entire community and lifting us all up together. Another wonderful lady in our syndicate mastermind group at Successful Spirit Summit now is a lady called Dawn Del Vecchio, who will probably hopefully get a chance to introduce you guys to sooner or later. And she has this wonderful motto in her trainings. She tells people that the real goal coming into this abundant age of collaboration now is to lift as we climb, lift each other up as we climb. And that's really what this idea that I had really boils down to in its essence, lifting as we climb. So that seemed like a really great idea for me, but there was one little fear that I had going into that, right? And you guys can probably guess what it was. It was, well, what if, no one else wants to do it? Or what if someone thinks they're, better qualified to do this large event than me? And so I spent a little bit of time just sort of talking one-on-one to all of the studios and really kind of bringing them into the awareness that most of them are already at, that we really were together in this. There was no such thing as one studio's customer that never had set foot in another yoga, studio in town, right? Even if that sense of competition was sort of the illusion of competition was there, it was pretty easy once I actually started talking to the studios to really just get real and dispel that illusion from each other. Because really and truly, I mean, with any industry, whether you're an astrologer, whether you're a tarot card reader, whether you're a yoga teacher, whether you're a chiropractor or a body worker, if you're thinking that your clients are only your clients and the only way to keep them is to ignore everybody else who's your peer, you're so in the dark. It's a little funny, right? Because what's the reality? I mean, come on. I don't know one person in the world who's only ever gone to one chiropractor or one person in the world that's only ever gone to one yoga teacher. If people are going to yoga studio classes in town, generally they love yoga, and they'll be going everywhere eventually. So we may as well own that and take it on as a community and start referring to each other and working together. Everyone's going to end up with the best clients they can if you work that way as a community of peers and crowdsource your reach and promote everyone. And, you know, and that illusion that you're all by yourself in the world, having to do everything by yourself, is dispelled. And we'll get to how this becomes profitable later on, but I just wanted to give you sort of the intention behind why it looked like a great idea to run the festival. Another thing that really started becoming a thing that was a really dear to my heart issue when I started getting the word about the festival out and I started building the festival is I realized that I could actually start giving back through the crowdsourced large event in a way that I just wasn't able to do as an individual. It really, guys, when you run a large event, other than, you know, having this tremendous platform that you can then utilize for the, you know, benefit of you and your community for promoting your own stuff, you get to give back so much, which is just an amazing side benefit. I mean, what I realized was, as an individual, I could maybe donate $10 a month to Sierra Club, but as the director of the Flagstaff Yoga Festival, I could donate thousands a year. I could have such a larger impact through becoming larger than just me, right? So I'll go into that a little bit more with you guys later on as well. Third benefit of running a festival we've kind of looked at already with the Yoga Journal story. Publicity really does come to you when you run a large event. You don't have to really go and seek publicity. If you're doing a smaller event, the publicity thing is really an issue. Like if you want to advertise your workshop or retreat, you have to pay to advertise. But a large event is much easier to gain media attention for than just you trying to do it by yourself. And if you're harnessing that media attention in a smart way, which we'll talk about in this call, your reach, your platform, your publicity, both as the event director and as your individual self, is just, it's like almost done for you. And you'll never have that problem of platform and reach for your stuff again. So I wanted to also throw this in here because I see a lot of people kind of going down the rabbit hole of publicity. It really is very simple. When you're doing a large event, what you find is the large event itself, because it's an entire community coming together, is pretty newsworthy in of itself, right? And I see all of this training out there going, well, here's how to gain publicity. Here's how to gain this platform. Here's how to gain 10 million Facebook fans or whatever. And dude, the secret really is, like, if you just go do something awesome for your community, the only secret you ever really need to know to getting media or publicity for your stuff, it's just so simple. You just have to do something newsworthy. Running an event is pretty dang newsworthy. Bringing a community together is pretty dang newsworthy. So, like, you know, I didn't ask for Yoga Journal, or just to kind of give you the, you know, I didn't ask for Mountain Living or KNAU or the Daily Sun or Yoga Journal to give me publicity. It just happened because the Flagstaff Yoga Festival was a newsworthy event, plain and simple. So all of that publicity, how do I get the word out about my stuff? You know, if you just give into doing a large event for everyone, you know, becoming larger than yourself, that whole issue goes away. It solves itself, okay? So let's look into, we'll get now into sort of the how-to of running a large event. And if Jules, I feel like you may have muted yourself on the call here because I'm not hearing you, but if you want to jump back in.
I'm just muted.
That's fine. Yeah, I kind of freaked out when it went quiet. I'm like, oh no, did I lose the entire sound? I'm like, no, she's just being awesome and polite, and she muted herself. But
yeah. And
background noise here. You had a fair bit of background noise on your end, April. I know you're on the call, but if you feel like calling in and asking questions or whatever, all you have to do, if you feel like, you know, the background noise is you know, sufficiently quiet and you want to actually chime in and ask a question at any point here, just press *2 to raise your hand. And before we get started on this, really the nitty-gritty sort of how-to start of the call here, I'm just going to really quickly so I want to just start off sort of alleviating the number one fear that people have when they're putting on an event, whether it's a virtual event, a live event, an in-person event, a small event, a large event. The number one reason that people are scared to even take that step and start planning it and start doing it is that they're really, really scared that nobody's going to come. No one's going to show up. And that's valid, right? I totally get that. Like, I've been there, before I started Flagstaff Yoga Festival, I was running large fundraisers here in town, raising upwards of $25,000 a year for the school. And I would stay up at night worrying about nobody actually showing up. And so I totally get that fear. But here's the deal. Every good event organizer learns this sooner or later, so you may as well have it now. Guess what? You actually don't make money on the front end. You don't make your money on the front end. You don't make your money on the upfront ticket sales. There are a lot of strategies and techniques that I'm going to show you on this call to really get around that worry of getting people to your event and having them pay to come, that are just going to like tear down those walls of like fear and anxiety against doing it. And you're just going to be absolutely 100% sure when you leave this call today that you will have whatever number at that event you choose to get. And that's just reality. For me, because I understand that the front end sales are only the start of what makes an event profitable, I've really, it's become, and Jules, you'll probably attest to this in a little while, it's just like, how many people do you want this event? Okay, go get them. And you make your money around that.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to go into sort of how this works. But I know that this is like a huge myth to bust through for most people on the call who are just worried about who's going to show up at their event. And this might not make sense to you right now. There's probably a lot of people going like, what? Well, how do you make it work if you're not, making money on ticket sales? So I'm not made of money, right? So but we'll kind of boil this down and we'll show you the business plan behind running a large sold out event that really makes this work. Okay? So here's essentially what I'm going to be going over in the slides. You'll kind of see these concepts come up over and over again. If you really wanted to boil down to its essence, its conceptual, big picture, flyover essence, what we're going to be teaching you how to do. First of all, there's this whole principle that Chris Anderson outlines in this book called Free very nicely. Chris is a writer, and he's the main editor. He's the editor-in-chief of Wired magazine. And Chris is just an amazing writer. He writes in very layperson's terms, describing what our current economy is doing. And this book, Free, was just so inspirational for me moving into this new marketing paradigm for events. The tagline here under Free, if you can't read it, says, how today's smartest businesses profit by giving something for nothing. And so the idea then is how to make money around free. So just know that that's a piece of a puzzle. I do have sort of a resource guide that you can click on here on your screen. And if you go to that resource guide, you'll see this book linked along with some other resources for you that we'll talk more about later. But Chris Anderson's book, Free, basically teaches you how to make money around a free event. Now, you'll also notice that Flagstaff Yoga Festival isn't actually free. $300 is the ticket price for a 3-day pass to Flagstaff Yoga Festival. That's certainly not free. But what I'm going to teach you to do is let go of the idea that people have to buy those tickets in order to sell that event out in other ways and make money around free, okay? Another huge part of this puzzle for me was a training I did with the nation's top internet marketer, a guy called Frank Kern. And he had a training that I went through a couple of years ago called list control. Excuse me, I can't speak. But list control was sort of the second element here. So given that there has to be a back end to make money on at your event, what do we then know about the attendance coming into the event? Essentially, one of the main things that you do get from your attendance is you get to be in touch with them. You get to develop a relationship with them. Perhaps, if you're being a really smart marketer, you actually have their emails, right? So running an event is a really wonderful way to gain the contact and permission from those contacts to stay in touch with them. So if you look at what is happening there, basically any event you run, in essence, becomes a list builder, okay? And if you're crowdsourcing a platform for your community, basically it becomes very easy very quickly to create a large list of very dedicated people if only you can just get them to your event. What could you do with the list of everyone who showed up, all 1,000 people who showed up at the Flagstaff Yoga Festival this year? Well, maybe they'd like to keep in touch with you year long then about what the returning presenters were doing in the meantime between festivals. Hey, Aminda Courtwright's teaching this workshop here. Laura Brown's teaching this workshop over here. Go check them out. Here's the links. You could be emailing the entire list, like 1,000-person attendance every year. So now I've got, a list of 3,000 people who've actually shown up at the event live, just about. We have a couple of returning people every year. And then I've got the list of people who are just randomly on the list from the website that didn't actually come but just wanted to stay in touch anyway. So I have their emails as well. And then we've got our social media and everything. So we've built a list now of upwards of 10,000 contacts just by doing the Flagstaff Yoga Festival. So if you then understand the value of having 10,000 people interested in yoga in your community, you kind of get that there's a whole back-end income possibility here, right? And the festival becomes this wonderful, fun party of an investment that you get to make in building out your contacts and your contacts for your community, right? Third component here that's really a massive, massive piece of the puzzle here for event organizers is the idea of giving. Give, 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 give. And I'll show you how this works a little more conceptually in a little while here. But essentially, here's a thought. If there were other ways to make money around free at the festival, if we were just considering getting people to the event, but we needed them to be the right people to be on our list, okay? We don't just want to throw tickets out the window and say, hey, this is a free event, because, if we're planning on inviting them to other workshops later on and stuff like that, then, generally speaking, if they showed up and the perceived value on the event when they first showed up was, oh, this is a free event, how do you know that they're ever going to, turn around and pay for another workshop? You don't. Maybe some of them will, but it might not be the most targeted ideal list for you to generate. A much better list for you to generate is a list of people who've proven, this is a huge concept, guys, a list of people who have already proven that they will take care of their health, wellness, healing arts, something like that, by actually opening their wallet and buying something that will take care of their wellness and healing from someone else, right? So the whole deal with Give Big here for me became this little idea that I got to start working with nonprofits and then asking those nonprofits, hey, do you guys happen to have a fundraiser coming up? Oh, do you have a silent auction at that fundraiser? Can I pop a couple of tickets to the Flagstaff Yoga Festival in that silent auction to make you guys some money? Like Sierra Club this last year, I think I gave them $6,000 worth of 3-day passes to Flagstaff Yoga Festival. And they put them in silent auctions they were running for the Wolf Recovery Project and all these other cool events that they were doing throughout the year. And they got all of these gift certificates. They all raised money for these Sierra Club projects. I didn't have to give them any money. I just gifted them tickets to my event. And that really helped me out because it filled my event and it filled my email list with people who had bid on these silent auction items. So first of all, they'd gone to the nonprofit, which I loved, paid to go to the event the nonprofit was running, and then when they were there, they got their wallets out again and paid for the ticket to come to Flagstaff Yoga Festival. Sierra Club got the money for that. That's awesome. As far as I'm concerned, I just donated to Sierra Club and helped them out, but I also got attendants who'd already proven that they would pay to come to a yoga workshop to my event. Didn't matter to me that they hadn't paid me. They'd paid somebody, so they were the right people to have at the event, because here's the next plus, right? How you actually are going to make money at your festival, at your event, in the first year, and this goes for virtual too. You can think advertising space on your website or whatever you want to think here, and I'll give you some strategies if you're running a virtual event that will totally make sense to you a little later. But essentially, if you get the right people to your event, and they're people who've already proven that they will spend the right amount of money to be in front of a certain number of sponsors, exhibitors, advertisers, then guess what? Sponsors, exhibitors, and advertisers are going to pay you to be in front of the people at your event. The sponsors, exhibitors, and advertisers, especially in your inaugural year, your first year of running an event, that's where your profit is. That's where your profit is. Now, as your event kind of gains in, reach and publicity, and people get to know your event after you're done with your first year and you're into like your second and third year of running your event, then, the ticket sales do pick up. But just to give you like a really clear example, in my first year of running the Flagstaff Yoga Festival, about 80% of my total bottom line net profit from Flagstaff Yoga Festival in the first year came not from ticket sales. 80% of my profit in the first year came from sponsors and exhibitors, mainly exhibitors, because the sponsors hadn't really taken off yet either, because they didn't know if my event was really going to be, anything special or not. So, 80%, most of that was exhibitor revenue coming in. They paid me to come exhibit at my event. So if there's any way that you can start strategizing how to get people who would love to piggyback on your event to reach the same audience that you're going to have there to your event, start thinking that through. Start thinking that through, as clearly as you can. I'll give you some strategies in this call to do this. Now, 3 years in, this year, the festival now has sort of, it's sort of a rolling stone gathers no moss kind of thing, right? In its third year, the profit split was pretty much 50-50. About 50% of my revenue this year came from exhibitors and 50% came from upfront ticket sales, which finally did pick up. But in the first year, 80% was to do with exhibiting and advertising. So as far as, if you ask me or any of the events that I'm sort of coaching and training up and collaborating with, really the key to financial success in the first year, in your inaugural year of running your event, isn't the upfront pass sales. It's the stuff that you can do around that. It's who else wants that platform. If you're running a small retreat, it's the same formula. You just have to think, well, instead of having, 50 exhibitors or whatever you're thinking a large event would have, or hundreds of exhibitors, you think who is like the two main sponsors that would love to be here. And if they don't want to sponsor, maybe you can do some sort of a consignment deal, like at Successful Spirit Summit. We're working with like my friend Radha Crawley, who's an Ayurvedic bodywork practitioner, found these amazing essential oils. And I thought, okay, at Successful Spirit Summit, I'm downloading a ton of marketing training on these guys. Really, I don't have time for them to go shop, of course. So exhibiting like Flagstaff Yoga Festival doesn't really make sense for this new platform that I've built out at Successful Spirit Summit. But what does make a lot of sense is to support them doing the training that they're there to do, which is going to mean I'm going to need to keep them sort of calm and focused at the same time. And what better way to do that at a training specifically for healing arts practitioners to learn marketing than through aromatherapy, right? They can be totally aligned with aromatherapy and still taking in all of the training and all of the information. So Radha's just going to be there with this line of products. I think it's called Lotus Way. I'm not sure. But anyway, Lotus Way and Radha have done this deal where basically, if anyone goes and wants to actually buy some of their product at the event, I get a cut of that profit for giving them the platform to sell to. You see what I mean? So in any event, in any event first year, I would always start strategizing and thinking through how to involve sponsors, exhibitors, marketers, advertisers in some regard. And think of these people not as people who want to profit from your wonderful spiritually aligned event. Think of them as your partners, your true partners. Who do you really want to go collaborate with? I'm not telling you to go align yourself with some Fortune 500 company that you hate their corporate philosophy or whatever. There are so many people in our communities especially that you can be aligning yourself with that are so not that. Like most of my exhibitors at the Flagstaff Yoga Festival are regional, local local, local vendors or people who are, doing like sustainable goods or, fair trade, T-shirts or stuff that I'm really aligned with is what I accept in. So this doesn't really equate to selling out. It's just, where is your bottom line profit? These guys are going to love your event if you can promise them one thing. You've got to be able to promise them that you really are going to rock out your event, that you really are going to have the attendance there. So, like, when you start thinking that way, it really, I've got a link here for you of marketing lessons from the Grateful Dead, what every business can learn from the most iconic band in history. But that's really sort of what it boils down to. Like, the marketing is going to take care of itself if you've created this massive fun party that might look more like, Woodstock than anything else, in sort of an energetic sense. But the more people at your event, the better. So what I realized in my first year of running FYF was that if I could just kind of remove the mental barrier in my mind to absolutely filling that event to capacity, then two things would happen if I could fill Flagstaff Yoga Festival to capacity. First of all, the sponsors, exhibitors would love me, and they'd come back year after year, and then, the front-end income piece would become vending, and that was just a lot more secure and reliable as an income source than hoping and praying and losing sleep over whether people would actually buy passes from me or not. And then the second thing that would happen, of course, is, there's a real energetic difference between, that yoga class that I was in 3 years ago, where I was teaching and there were 2 people in the room, and a massively full room of happy, clappy people that are just loving everything that you're doing, right? So when you have people win passes in silent auctions and sweepstakes and help out their favorite nonprofits and get passes through all of these partnership and sponsorship channels, they love you going in because you've already shown them that you're, supporting awesome causes. And then they get to your event and there's 1,000 other people just like them there, and the energy of the event carries a lot of the time. It's this element of, human behavioral psychology called social proof, right? If we look around a room and see there's only one other person in the room and they sort of look like they're having a good time, but we're kind of self-conscious because we thought there'd be 15 people in the yoga class and there's just 2, there's an awkwardness about that, right? Versus if we're in a yoga class with 35 people and everyone's really getting into it, we can pretty much lose ourselves in the crowd in a sense, which is almost good energetically, because we feed off the energy of the crowd, right? And we can make that into a positive experience. Of course, feeding off energy of clouds can also be very negative, but of course, at your wonderful event, it's going to be a very positive thing. The vendors and exhibitors are going to love you if you really have a party, right? So get people to your event. Get people to the event. Your list will grow larger, which means your back-end promotions will be phenomenal. And the front end of the vendors or the exhibitors or the marketers, they're also going to be really happy. If you're running an online event, you can prove to your advertisers on your banners and things, hey, look how much traffic I have to this website. We can talk about ways to do that later with you guys too if you want. Same concept, the more the better, right? The more the better. So for the next 45 minutes or so, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through exactly how putting an event like this together looks, okay? So I've put together for you here an order of event operations. And these slides are totally going to be available for you guys in replay too. So if you're frantically taking notes, don't worry too much here because you'll be able to refer to these anytime you like, okay? And what I'm also going to try to do for you is if you request them, is I'm going to try to just kind of get this whole slideshow to you as a PDF. So we'll email that to you in a couple of hours here after we're done. So if you want to just sit back and kick it and enjoy the presentation rather than frantically taking notes, you're welcome to do that. Just relax and know that we'll totally get these slides to you, and they'll also be available in replay for you to watch anytime you like. Order of event operations. And we'll go over all of these in detail in the next 10 or so slides for you. First thing to do is get a website. Get a website first. Buy your domain name when you come up with the event. We'll kind of give you a little overview of how to actually do that. But getting the website up first is key, because then, right when you first start planning and getting the word out, you're going to have somewhere to send people to get a conceptual idea of what you already have in mind. If you don't have that visual concept, that visual address online to send people to when you're reaching out to promoters, sponsors, nonprofit partners, attendants, presenters, whatever you need for your event, it's going to be really difficult for them to commit to your idea that's just in your head. The first thing to do is grab that domain name. And by the way, this order of events here is pretty much exactly as I ran the Flagstaff Yoga Festival the first year. And from the moment that I got the concept of the event until we actually went through all of these steps and into the event was about a year. It was just under a year. It was about 11 months from when I bought that domain name until the first annual festival. And I really do like, I mean, this is different if you're planning an event that's smaller or more virtual. You know, you can tweak this a little bit. But if you're really looking at doing like a large event, like, 500 to 1,000 people, I would very, very highly recommend giving yourself a year from the time you set the date, because there's a lot to do in the year promotionally, and I promise you I can help fill that year for you. And get you paid for doing it, though. That's important to understand first. So about a year out or so, 10 months to a year out with a large event, I would get the domain name. Then I would set the date for the festival. Then you focus on getting the word out, but internally getting the word out right now. What I mean by internally getting the word out is reaching out to the presenters, reaching out to prospective partners, media that might want to know what's going on, because then, of course, you can send them to the website. So you get the word out, which also kind of entails getting presenters lined up if you have to. Now, what you might realize, a couple of years in, I actually got to this point in the first year, is that getting the presenters for your event is pretty dang easy. You really, I'll teach you some tricks with that a little later on, but people think they have to go and beg and plead for people to come to their events. No, guys, you're putting on an amazing platform for them, and they're going to come to you if you do this right. You're not going to have to beg a presenter to come to your event. They're going to be wanting to be a part of the coolness that you've created in your event. So along those lines, we'll also talk about how to just make this such a great deal for the presenters that you don't really have to worry about budgeting to pay them, because if you can get them on board as your collaborators and really support them in rocking out this event to promote their other stuff, then you don't have to worry about paying them a fee to show up. In fact, some of the presenters who come to Flagstaff Yoga Festival now ask me what the fee is to present at the Flagstaff Yoga Festival, and I don't charge them for coming, but they get the value of being in front of the platform. And it gives you an incredible amount of, just self-confidence in your own industry, putting on an event of that size. I mean, one of my main information marketing mentors always says, like, if you really want to rock out your position in any industry that you want to play in as an entrepreneur, whether that's yoga, bodywork, healing arts, spirituality, whatever your thing is, own the platform. If you own the platform, if you do a large event, if you own the platform, you've just given yourself a tremendous amount of credibility and reach, right? So owning the platform is the way to go, even with your peers. So, running a large event is just a rocking idea for that reason at all. Don't worry about getting the presenters. We'll get there with you. Scheduling the events and workshops themselves, like the individual trainings or breakout sessions, if you have that going on, should be after getting the presenters, obviously. Then after you've got the actual schedule of what's actually going on at your event, you're going to reach out to your partners, your sponsors, your charities at that event. Once you can actually show them what you are able to gift them a ticket to, then you reach out to them. In there you might want to put the step of harnessing a little army of volunteers to run with you if volunteers are necessary to run your event. They certainly are for Flagstaff Yoga Festival. I take on about 50 volunteers every year to run that event. And again, it's not a problem to get those volunteers. If you set up with the website first, the volunteers will come to you. I'll show you how that happens in a little while. Step 6, give. So in other words, get the tickets out there to the nonprofit partners to have people bid on, or give the tickets to the sponsors as part of their sponsorship package, right? So like when we work with Lululemon, we'll always like run promotions with them where if people buy like a certain amount of Lululemon clothing 1 week, they get a 5-class pass to come to the festival. And they'll run that promotion for a couple of weeks. They'll send us, several dozen extra attendants that way. And it just rocks for everyone. So, the advertising, the sponsorship, is sort of something you do when you're giving tickets as well. First of all, I would give them to your charities, and then I would sell advertising and sponsorship, and I would roll in, tickets as part of those advertising and sponsorship agreements and packages that you're selling. So, like, if you're selling a vending booth at your event, include like 5 tickets or whatever seems reasonable to you to that vendor. And then that vendor can go and gift those to friends or run their own promotions with them or do them as bonuses when people buy a certain amount of stuff or services from them. And they're just totally like, wow, thank you for, helping me, make the most and rock out my business. So totally works for everyone. Just the more you give, the more you get. It really is a very boomerang model that we're detailing here for you. So then, this is kind of cute of me to write, but, after you've done all of that, you might want to open some ticket sales if you feel like it. And I worded that way on purpose for you guys because, remember, like most of the time when people first start going into event organizing, they're so hung up on upfront ticket sales all year, and that's what they focus on. But if you do this order of operations instead, your event's going to fill itself. You're just going to get the attendance. You're going to be profitable because, the charities, the partners, the sponsors, the advertisers, the media is going to be really where you make your money. And then you've got this entire awesome email list that you're going to be collecting along the way. We'll show you how to do that as like the next step after you've given out the tickets, how to actually get folks to, get your email address, get their email addresses, and you make that like the primary way to keep in touch with them is via your web presence and your email. And then you've got this entire back-end platform that you can use to promote, the presenters and promote workshops and all of that stuff throughout the year, right? So maybe you want to open ticket sales, but, you don't have to for money, at this point in the game. And then you just go have fun at your event. So let's go into these 9 steps, step by step, and show you, kind of an overview of what's involved in each step, okay? So let's go to get a website first. And by the way, guys, if you notice on your screen, which I think I'll open a version. So the first step in getting a website is going to be for you guys to buy a domain name. The domain name for your website is like, www.flagstaffyogafestival.com or www.awesomeastrologyconference.com or whatever it is that you're doing, okay? And the reason why you want to buy a domain name at that point is twofold. This is the one area that I really recommend people do first because if you don't do it, someone else might, okay? And now there might be one person on the call that I'm actually going to be talking to a little later because one of the most just thrilling events on this call that I'm just so excited to have the prospective promoter of on this call with us is an event that I knew that if we didn't grab the domain name for it right away when I had the idea for it a couple of years back, it would really be bad if that domain name got into the wrong hands, okay? And that's just something that I think you guys need to bear in mind. Like, you probably know universally that, you don't necessarily have to, be that aware of what happens with like consciousness in spiritually, how the universe works to realize that if you have an idea about, 10 other people on the planet probably having the same idea as you at the exact same time. So if you have an idea for an amazing event and the name of the event comes to you, I would highly recommend grabbing the domain name for it so that, no one else does, quite frankly. And, one of the reasons why I've grabbed a few event names over the years, just as I thought of them, even if I had no real, gumption to go do the event right away, was so that, the domain name didn't get into the hands of people who didn't know how to run an event, right? You guys are going to know how to really rock out an event after this call. So buy the domain name as soon as you have the idea. Domain names you can pick up at GoDaddy for like, $3 to $10, especially if you use a coupon code. So that is like easy enough to do, very minimal investment to kind of hold the space for your event. Buy your domain name. The other reason for doing this is, of course, you're going to be sharing the idea about your event with everyone in your community. And you want to be confident that you can get the word out about that and share it without having this underlying worry that someone else might take that from under you or something like that. And case in point, when I started sharing Flagstaff Yoga Festival, there was a person who was sort of running some stuff here in town at the time, just wasn't doing a great job of it. But I shared the idea with him, shared the name with him, went to the bathroom, came back, and caught him frantically looking all over the internet to see if he could grab the domain name that I just told him. And it was such a lack and limitation kind of perspective, but just know that's out there. I mean, if he'd have ended up running the Flagstaff Yoga Festival, it kind of would have been really bad news and it would have flopped in its first year and be done. And I totally know that, but I had a higher vision for this community event and I didn't want to see it flop in the wrong hands. So grab that domain name. Second step after you get your domain name. Now you can skip all of these steps and do an Insta website type thing, but such a huge part of the strategy for your platform, guys, is going to be really getting this website as prominent as possible and really making it a design that will work for advertisers and sponsors, and to put forms for people to RSVP to come. That I really would love it if you did your websites in this way, the way that I'm showing you here, because this is the most flexible way. It's also the way that Google is going to love you the most, so that your SEO, your search engine optimization, becomes the most easy thing in the world for you to do. So get your domain name, and then I would totally get it hosted separately and put the domain name on the hosting. I've got some trainings that I can show you on exactly how to do that. But you'll see on the left-hand side of your screen where I've typed in the word Bluehost. Bluehost is the hosting that I recommend. If you go check Bluehost out through there, you can host all of the domain names you will ever buy on Bluehost for, I think it's $6 a month or something ridiculous. And that's not per domain name, guys. That is for all of your domain names. So you can have 50 websites and host them all on Bluehost, and it'll cost you $6 a month for the hosting. Right? If anyone's confused right here about the difference between getting a domain name and getting that domain name hosting, I like to explain it to people this way, that the domain name buy is kind of like if you were going to buy a tent or a trailer, okay? And then you need to get that tent or trailer hosted, meaning you need to get land for that tent or trailer to sit on, okay? So the hosting is kind of like the land that your trailer sits on. Right? It's the bandwidth, actually. That's the piece that gets hosted. It's the actual bandwidth space that you're going to be taking on the call on your event's domain name. You need bandwidth to host that. So get it hosted. I would recommend Bluehost. It's sort of one of the industry standards for information marketers, and it's just a wonderful, unlimited bandwidth. Lots of great things. Once you're in Bluehost, it's very easy to make the content management system of your website WordPress. Now, there are some other CMSs out there. All the content management systems are, for anyone who's confused at this stage, this is the bit, the content management system is the bit that you will go into to edit the content of your site. So when you build out your schedule, when you build out your sales pages, when you build out your presenter bios, when you tell people where to go to the event, and you want to actually type those words into a website, you'll be going into your content management system to put that content on your website, okay? This is also the bit that you'll be designing, your look and feel of your template from. You can pick up free WordPress templates on there, or you can custom design WordPress templates. WordPress as a content management system is really the industry standard for a few reasons. First of all, Google loves WordPress. SEO, search engine optimization, getting prominent and visible with a WordPress CMS site is easier and more SEO friendly than any other CMS system you could put up there. And because WordPress is really the industry standard, more so than Joomla or Drupal or .NET Nuke or Blogger or any other CMS that you could imagine, there are just more applications, more plugins, more integrations from services that will give you things like opt-in forms for your email management and shopping cart forms for like past sales and all of that stuff. WordPress is the easiest thing for most anyone in the industry providing a service that does anything on your website. Oh, people can buy tickets or people can opt into your list. WordPress integration is like industry standard now. You'll find anything that you need to do as like WordPress plugins or apps that work with WordPress. So it's the most flexible, it's the industry standard, Google loves it. If you talk to internet marketers, nobody these days ever thinks twice about doing anything other than WordPress. Not really. So buy your domain name. Get it hosted. Bluehost I've clicked and linked there for you. Put WordPress on the site. WordPress is free. It's a free script that once you have Bluehost, it's very easy to get WordPress because Bluehost will actually just lead you through that process. It's very, very point and click. So then you're going to be putting up some forms on your website. You know, the forms that you're going to be putting up might come through some sort of email management system that you get, or I've also linked Office Autopilot and one shopping cart on there for you guys. Low end and a high end system, depending on how sophisticated of a system you would like to use. Both of these systems will handle everything from email to shopping cart software, and even fancy stuff like affiliate software for you. So you'll see those links to Office Autopilot and one shopping cart there. The putting up forms part here, I recommend getting a system like that to do it in the most elegant way, that also is like the most professional way. And this isn't just for like a one-time event, by the way. If you get any of these systems that I'm telling you, all the way from like Bluehost to, you know, putting WordPress on every site you own to, you know, forms for like, you know, anything on any of your sites. This isn't just about the event, right? You get Office Autopilot or you get one shopping cart, and you can rock out everything in your business on these forms, not just the event, right? So they're really one-stop shops that really enable you to take all of your businesses online. So you'd put up some forms for RSVPs or for presenters to opt in and say, hey, I'd like to come present at your event, or exhibitors to say, hi, I would like to come exhibit at your event. The RSVP form is really kind of the most used one at a 1,000-person event, because this is the form that you're going to pop on a page of your site as a link that you're going to drive every single gift certificate attendee to. So like if you rock out the whole deal where, you know, you're giving passes to sponsors and nonprofit partners, and you give them physical little gift certificates that you can create like on business cards. Or I did it on business cards this year for the Flagstaff Yoga Fest. I just went to Staples, got a bunch of business cards, and printed out these little business card gift certificates. They look like little tickets. And, you can have tickets created or whatever, but, you know, you can make them really pretty if you go to Staples and just work on your computer, and you can create some beautiful stuff just from home these days. So on that gift certificate, I very, very clearly say, you know, in order to attend the event, you must RSVP to get on the roster of attendance. And you must do this by this deadline. Always, always, always put a deadline on that gift certificate, telling them what their deadline is to RSVP by, for a couple of reasons. One, you want to know who's coming to your event so that you don't like give out thousands of extra gift certificates and then oversell, right? Or that you thought you gave out enough but nobody RSVP'd because they couldn't actually use the things and you undersell. Put a deadline on there so that you have a very clear idea of where your attendance stands. And then if you need to go get more attendance, you can. You have time to do that. If you are done, then you can just relax already. But the RSVP deadline is very useful to you as the event organizer for that reason. The other reason that the event should really have an RSVP form with a deadline is that, that there's this thing in the consumer's mind that they simply won't get off their butt and actually commit to come to your event unless you've given them an RSVP. That's just human nature. You've got to give human beings a deadline to do stuff by, because we all wait till the deadline. I mean, think about it. That's just kind of the way we roll as humans. So totally do that RSVP. Make it a page that they visit on your website that they have to go fill out a form on. And on that form, of course, you ask for their email address. Capture their information on the form. They're coming to your event. You have their email. You're golden. Okay? After you've got those forms on the site, the next step, as you go, and of course this could take months to fill all of this out. You don't have to build out the content in the first week. You can, for me, it's like I built out Flagstaff Yoga Festival in August. I don't think I even had the schedule up until, March this year, maybe April, So it's like, but I had those RSVP forms and the presenters and exhibitors forms up long before that. So, the content and schedule kind of comes next, and as you build out the content, that's when you really start looking at search engine optimization strategy, which I have a ton of trainings for you guys if you're interested in, and we'll show you more of that later on. But the SEO part of that is very tied to the content, because when you're writing the content, you can be thinking about what keywords to start optimizing for, and that will gain you a ton of search traffic to your event if you do that right. And then, of course, the last step with the website is everything else you do from here on out, you're going to drive that traffic to the website. And that also really helps with how well you start to appear in the search engines. So, for instance, yeah, sure, go for it.
I was starting to type it, and then you started to talk too far, so I wanted to catch you before I spent all the time typing it.
Yeah.
With the expiration dates, just to back up a little bit, and then you can keep going.
Oh, sure,
Do you recommend, my event is in August, and right now I'm already in the process of gifting tickets.
Yeah.
Now, do I have their expiration date be 2 weeks before the event next year for my own sanity, so I only have one expiration date, or do I stagger them?
You're going to be insane if you only have one expiration date. It's very counterintuitive. Guys, if you've just joined us on the call, this is Jules, who's running the South Bay Yoga Conference, who is part of my Successful Spirit Mastermind group. And so, she's collaborating with us on how to kind of put her event together. Yeah, great question. So I actually make my RSVP dates usually about no more than a month after that guest is going to receive the ticket in their hands. Now, before Christmas for an August event, you've got a lot of time, and maybe some, because the event is in August, maybe whoever gets that ticket at the raffle or the giveaway or whatever that ticket is going into, I think yours is a giveaway, isn't it, for an event?
Yeah.
Yeah. Bear this in mind. Here's a really cool idea. Whoever receives that ticket might just turn around and go like, oh, I randomly won this thing. At a giveaway, that's a little bit different than how you would run in a silent auction, because usually the silent auction person is purposefully bidding on that one item. In a giveaway, there might be like 10 things that they're winning, or they entered it just to support the person they didn't actually think they were going to win. So it's very possible that the person who ends up with the ticket is going to go, I don't really know if this is for me. I'd love to give it to my mom, or I'd love to give it to my sister. So with a before Christmas event, I would actually deviate from my, month out from when it came into their hands rule, especially if your event isn't until August, because what you could do is put an RSVP deadline of like January 15th or something on there, and that gives that person then a chance to turn around and gift that gift certificate as a Christmas present, right? And that's something I'll do with like my early partnerships. Now, why I don't have everything on the same deadline is essentially because I want to know how my attendance numbers are doing as I build to the festival. I don't want to find out 2 weeks before the festival that only 20 people are going to RSVP. I want to know that if I gave out 100 tickets before, Christmas, and my RSVP deadline was January 15, and only 30 of those guys actually RSVP'd, that deadline's done. I can go give out more tickets the next month than I thought I needed to and make up that difference in my attendance numbers. Does that make sense?
Yes, perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, because over the course of the year, like, you have time to rock out amazing promotions that, maybe, there's a promotion, if you put an RSVP deadline of February 15th for 20 people, you print out a bunch of tickets, that's awesome. But I will guarantee you will have someone come in as a nonprofit partner on February 4th saying, oh, that's great, but my event isn't until March 1st. I gave you the wrong date. So it's like I actually tailor the RSVP deadlines per promotion most of the time, and I'll print out their tickets for them per promotion. And that makes their life easier, and it just makes your partnership possibilities greater than if you were just sort of setting yourself into a date, you know. But yeah, having them win something in like October or November, and then the RSVP deadline isn't until July 31st. Of course, the other risk there is that the person's going to lose the ticket and forget all about it. So, you know, it's just like a piece of paper or something. And of course, you don't have to do it with paper tickets, guys. I like doing paper because I just particularly like bringing offline people online. That's just one thing that works really well for me. So, yeah, you like drive everything to the website. Okay, so that's kind of the nitty-gritty of like what order to do things in to like do the website part of what you're doing. Buy the domain name first. Was that clear, Jules? I mean, I don't know if you have any
totally clear. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah, like I've had that.
Stagger the deadline so you have some idea of how many people are coming and how many tickets you want to continue to give. So
right,
perfect.
Exactly. What about the domain name? Did that make sense to like snag the domain name when you think about it?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, just on that note, it goes along. It's more than just thinking about it. If you even search for it, it's out there and somebody will buy it. So
yep, exactly.
It goes, you know, it's in your mind and in the virtual world. As soon as you have the idea, grab it. I agree with that completely.
Exactly. Awesome. Yeah, I was hoping that didn't sound like too limited or whatever, but it really is that, you know, you pop an idea out to the universe and it's out there, man. I mean, if you've got a great idea, go with it. You know, go with it, set your date and go. So that's the get a website part, which is number one. Number two is set a date. What date is the best date for your event? Well, of course, there's a multitude of different factors that you can think of around what to set your date as. The things that I really consider when I'm planning an event is when is the place that you're planning your event in the most attractive to the prospective attendant. So in other words, Sedona, I live in northern Arizona. Sedona is right down the road from me, but it's like 2,000 feet lower in elevation than Flagstaff, which is 7,000 feet, a pretty airy, cool mountain town. Sedona is a hotter desert community, and then of course Las Vegas and Phoenix are like ovens in the summer, right? So like Sedona is pretty hot in the summer, and so's Las Vegas, and so's Phoenix. So everyone wants to come up the hill to cool off in Flagstaff in the summertime, and it's beautiful. The monsoons hit. It's green. It's lush. It's pine. So all of the desert people like to come up the hill. So Flagstaff's high season is really summertime. But that's going to differ for other communities, right? Like, you know, now, you know, Phoenix, I don't think I would really want to host a Phoenix yoga festival, for instance, in the summer. That just doesn't sound like an attractive place to ask people to show up in at 120 degrees, you know. I love Phoenix in like February. You know, it's beautiful. The whole rest of the world wants to come and warm up. Phoenix's high season is really February, you know. So, you know, think about when the high season for your location is if you have a physical event. If you have a virtual event, there's another kind of high season consideration that you have there. Like if, for instance, for Virtual Tarot School, I run another business called virtualtarotschool.com. Virtual Tarot School has a couple of high seasons, neither of them are the summer. Virtual Tarot School gets really big in the winter when people's energy kind of comes inward and they become more reflective and they want to tool around online and play with their tarot cards. So I've got an online tarot business that really takes off in the winter, right? So it's almost like when you're doing events for a living, or even when you've got anything, a website, you know, any business is really an event. You can think of it in terms of an event. When's your high season? Virtual Tarot School's high season is totally winter. And we get a real big spike around Halloween, too, because people just think tarot card reading's cool at Halloween, which is just weird, but that's the way it is. So it's like know when the high seasons for your event are, okay? Anything for yoga, like virtually, or for wellness and healing arts virtually, high season, one of the many high seasons, would be build up to the time, the summer. So like if you're doing a fitness event, of course everyone wants to look great on the beach, right? So springtime, you'll see all of the get ready for bikini season stuff, right? So that would be a high season there, a possibility. There isn't ever going to be one. It's just like ruminate the possibilities, right? New Year's resolution time, January. Awesome for healing arts people, especially if you've got something more wellness-based. If you have something more like an event based around Ayurveda or longevity, think about January through May as the high season for that longevity conference, right? Which is, I think, right up the road from you, Jules. What is that, April every year in Costa Mesa now? I think it was April in Costa Mesa.
I don't know about that conference.
It's like the David Wolf, Donna Gates, big health and wellness event, and that's like April in Costa Mesa. And Costa Mesa is beautiful in April, and April is just the time when people are really, starting to think about their health. So what is your high season? If you have a beautiful place and there's a high season and it's a location-oriented event, you can think about that. But why and when do people already love to visit your place? Another really important consideration here is to remember that you're not an island. So part of your date setting little rumination here could also be, what are you piggybacking on? What don't you want to compete with? What do you want to collaborate with? So like a big consideration for Jules when she was doing her event was the location of the event, which ended up being a school, which by the way, especially for like a large event, guys, I totally recommend for people to check out over like a hotel and conference center, purely based on cost as well, by the way. So like when I was at the largest hotel in northern Arizona, that was a $30,000 investment to me, which is a pretty tall order. Renting an entire school for the Flagstaff Yoga Festival, which allows me more attendance anyway, and it's sort of a sweeter environment, cost me about $5,000. Big difference. So just know that, I know we had a couple of questions on teleseminar attendees here about location, and I don't talk about location too much on these slides, but, consider, are there locations that are great gathering places that have a low season? Maybe that could be your high season going in. So like if a school looks like an attractive possibility or a university, when is that school not in session? Spring break or, Christmas break or, summer break. So maybe that's a consideration to piggyback on to a location that is there anyway waiting for you to hold. You can also piggyback on, the tails of a large event that you want to sort of collaborate with on some level. So I will never, for instance, compete date-wise with Telluride Yoga Festival, and I try not to compete with Wanderlust, although Wanderlust set their date before mine in 2010, so we ended up being the same weekend. But this year I set my date nice and early, and I think they got the gist that maybe they should be, thinking maybe people would like to go to both. And so, just being mindful of what's going on around you and not thinking, oh, I should compete with that event, but rather, hey, what if there are some attendants who would like to go to both? I would love to do a circuit of starting off at Telluride Yoga Festival, going to Wanderlust, going to Flagstaff Yoga Festival, and then ending up at South Bay Yoga Conference the following week. And that's exactly what Jules has planned for South Bay is hey, let's just, the following weekend, just get everyone from Flagstaff to just chug down to the coast and go to South Bay. So we're going to try to rock that out. And of course, now there's an entire collaboration opportunity there for us just because of the way we set up our dates. So those are date things to consider. With a large event, I absolutely recommend giving yourself about a year to put it together because it is kind of a tall order. With something like an online event, obviously, there's a different scale of what you're going to be doing there. But setting a date and putting all of that planning into it is kind of an important thing. Getting the word out to your people, your presenters, your prospective sponsors, exhibitors, nonprofit partners. Remember, and this is like a big thing. Now, getting the word out here, notice I didn't really say anything about getting the word out to prospective attendants. That comes last. The first people you want to reach out to are the people that you really want to heavily involve in your event. Presenters, sponsors, exhibitors, nonprofits, right? Now, when you're doing this initial getting the word out phase, remember that people totally support what they create. That's something that my mentor Brendan says all the time. People support what they create. People support what they create. In other words, like, you know, Jules reached out to me, you know, as one of like the first people that she reached out to tell about the South Bay Yoga Conference. I'm getting like totally excited as a trainer and a mentor for the event. And you bet I'm going to be like totally blasting it and giving it a ton of media attention. Why? Because I feel like I'm helping to create the event. It's my nature as a human being then to go and support what I create. If something's your baby, you totally want it to do great, right? So in this getting the word out phase, you know, whether it's presenters that you want to get on board or whatever, you know, going and presenting the event to the presenter and saying, hey, there's this amazing thing. What do you think? Would you like to teach something there? What kind of workshop could you imagine? Get them excited about it, because then they're going to go and just totally love you up for the rest of the year. They're going to be so excited to be presenting there, but also they're going to support what they have helped to create. So this is why strategically getting the word out, I really consider to be sort of the number 3 step, because then a lot of your publicity and reach sort of take care of itself almost organically, because people support what they create. You can maybe start telling the media what's on the horizon. If you have media contacts, if you know people that work at your local NPR affiliate station or your newspaper or whatever, you can kind of start putting the buzz out about the event at this point. Of course, again, because you already have the website there ready for people to go to, right? So, you know, you can totally go, hey, there's this thing, check it out. I've already got a site up, and you can check out all of the stuff there. Totally saves you a ton of work as well. This getting the word out stage, if you don't have your site already done, can be a real time eater. You put up as much info as you can on the website. People can go check it out at their leisure. You don't have to spend your entire life on the phone with people, which is really helpful. Getting presenters. I didn't put much on this slide because by this stage of the game, you've already kind of put the word out enough. Initially in the first year, I think I emailed about 50 people in town that were just like friends that I thought of, and people in, you know, programs around here like massage therapists and yoga teachers just locally in tiny little Flagstaff, Arizona. And that getting the word out phase that I did, I just basically said, I sent out, I think, an email to like 30 to 50 people just from Gmail. Like I didn't even have an email management system yet or anything. And I just told my friends on email, I said, hey, I'm going to do this awesome thing. Here's the website link. Start dreaming. I think this is going to be an amazing thing for our entire community to come together on. My intention putting this together is to light up the entire community and make this work for everyone. So start dreaming and dream big, and let's go rock it out, and just know that, you know, in a month or so I'll totally be asking you if you want to teach a workshop at this event. And so I gave them sort of this presenter's sort of on the side, like, hey, check this out. You get the inside scoop. I didn't do any other marketing for that at all. From that point on, just from my 50 contacts and from the reach that I was starting to build and the SEO reach that I was starting to generate via having the website set up right and just adding content on there, people started finding me. And that was really all there was to it. You know, now I don't want to make that seem like magic, but I mean, I hope you guys understand there was a strategy behind that, because I set up the web presence first. So all I did is I reached out to my friends, totally got a ball rolling, and then because I had the presenter forum up on the site, people just started finding me and reaching out to me. It was that simple. Now, if your SEO reach isn't as, you know, randomly awesome in your first year, there's another strategy that I should probably put in here for you. If you did want to place a couple of ads, but you didn't want to like go completely nuts with advertising, because maybe, you know, your budget is not as big as you know you would like it to be. So like if you're going to place any advertising, you want to make sure it's the most effective, far-reaching advertising you could, right? So there's a ton of different places I could have advertised the Flagstaff Yoga Festival. In its first year, I placed one ad for FYF, and it cost me $20 for the entire year. And it was the best ad I could have gotten. I had so many people finding me through that ad, and then I like took off with Facebook, and that was another way that people really found me. But the ad that I placed, I was like really confused when I started looking around for places for advertising. Well, should I pay $800 to Yoga Journal? that didn't look like such a hot idea, and I had some of my mentors say that they didn't actually get that amazing of a response from Yoga Journal, so it wasn't all that. And actually 2 years later when I did get in there, that was actually my experience too. Like, I got a tremendous response again from exhibitors seeing my listing there and wanting to come be a vendor, but it didn't actually bump up my ticket sales any. So I was like, well, I just had a hunch it wasn't like going to be it for advertising for me. So what I did is I very simply got on Google and I Googled the phrase yoga events. And I punched the search key and I saw what came up. And I knew that whatever the first listing there for yoga events was who I wanted to advertise with if they accepted advertising, because they obviously had the best platform, the best reach, the most exposure, because they were the number one results for that. So at that time, it ended up being yogafinder.com, which is run by an amazing lady called Randa Thompson, who ended up coming to the festival that first year. And I just placed a simple $20 ad for my event on Yoga Finder, and that's all I needed. And I placed it like 6 months out, and it totally rocked for me. So just think about, if someone was randomly looking for an event like yours, what might they punch into Google? And then go punch that in and see what comes up, and then, go advertise with them. So that's kind of the shortcut to like figuring out which advertiser to go with. I've got some more training on how to do that too, and how to do all of the social media stuff. But you get yourself out there with your platform with the previous few steps, and then presenters, if you've got that form live on your site, just telling them how to get in touch with them, and maybe giving them a PDF prospectus, telling them all the deal about the entire event that you're putting on, then you're golden. The presenters just come to you. They really do. Scheduling the events, obviously that's the next step after doing the presenters. That's pretty dang self-explanatory, right? If you have other people at your event, that's when you start talking to them about the workshops they want to offer. And this could, on your end, involve a little market research. I do have some trainings out there showing you how to use like keyword research tools and things, so that if you want to start really search engine optimizing your schedule, which is your content on your site, right? If you have your schedule listed as content on your site, wouldn't it be great if it was actually like the names of the workshops were actually SEO optimized, meaning that you knew for a fact that the people who were searching for those workshops actually found your stuff. So like, I'll really think long and hard and do a little bit of market research on what to even call the workshops, because I like to know that there's sort of an interest in the world at large for the offerings, So like I'll never like host something that's like totally random, like, yoga for the freckle on your Bigfoot, I'm making stuff up, but I will totally do like, back bends will be a word that I'll put in some of the more vigorous, heart-opening workshops, and I'll use the word back bends in them and suggest that we title it with the word back bends in them. Even if the presenter wants heart opening in there, it's like I'll put heart opening in the title, but then I'll use the word back bends. Why? Because I've done some keyword research and I know that that's what people are actually searching for, is workshops on back bends. People generally, for whatever reason, don't punch in the term heart opening yoga as much as they punch in the term back bend yoga, right? And there's keyword research tools that I can show you guys in other trainings that I'll show you exactly how to get this information. But just, if you do a little bit of research, or even if you want to like bypass that and just use your common sense, the main thing here is to write the schedule of your event with the attendee in mind, not necessarily the presenter, right? So your workshop titles, the presenter is going to give you ideas for what they're doing. That's cool. And then you give them ideas back based on what you are feeling by putting yourself in the consumer's mind, in the attendee's mind. If you have a yoga basics class and like, real core example here that, you wouldn't even need to do keyword research or anything for. Let me just make up a really simple one for you guys. Yoga basics class for, guys who aren't very flexible, right? And start thinking about, what the presenter might have wanted to call that class, like stretching for the first time or something like that, or get to your ultimate stretch, or I don't know, like presenters come up with really interesting titles based on their enthusiasm for their own workshops, and that's great. But I would totally want to call it something like, think you're not flexible enough to do yoga, think again, or something like that, because I know what's going through the attendant's mind, not necessarily the presenter's mind. So just kind of bear that in mind when you title your stuff. And the other thing I do when I schedule out the events, especially if you're doing an event that looks a bit like FYF, where you have like multiple different workshop offerings and slots that, you've got different things going on at the same workshop slot, like 8 or so workshops in the same workshop slot, is to make those workshops very complementary to each other, not competing with each other. Again, this is a complementary, collaborative model that we're working with. So, don't put 2 Kundalini yoga classes on the same, schedule slot. Put them at different times. Like if someone missed the first one, they can catch the second one or whatever. But have the Kundalini yoga class and then have something that's more basic hatha, and then have a vinyasa offering, and then have like an Iyengar inspired offering or whatever. And I would fill it out so that there's something for everyone in any one given slot. Something more mellow, something more vigorous. And for me, that just seems to attract more attendance and make the event appear a lot more accessible to them. Now, there are events that even with multiple workshop offerings, run a little differently. Like, Aubrey at Telluride totally rolls differently with this. Her inspiration was, let's make this entire event energetically feel like a day at Mysore. So we're going to start off in the morning with sort of purist meditation type things, scale to sort of a crescendo at midday, and then wind everything down. So energetically, there's a different pattern to her event. But, bear in mind, what is your mindful approach to your schedule? And those are some of the things I consider there. After you've got your schedule set, that is the time when you're really going to start rocking and rolling with the partners and charities. And of course, this isn't like set in stone. Like Jules is totally getting partners on board and giving out tickets now just because the opportunities are rising and she understands this model, so she can go rock it out. But, in general, the most ideal time that partners, charities, and then sponsors and exhibitors are going to be the most interested in collaborating with you is after they see the entire event is set up, the entire schedule is laid out. Once you get to that point of your development of your organizing year as the director, that's the time where it really becomes easy to get charities on board, because you send them to the website and they're not saying, well, what exactly is this ticket for that you're donating to me? They know what the ticket's for because the schedule's right there. So this is the time that it's really easiest, and I'm all about productivity and making things as painless as possible for event directors. This is the time when you get your partners and charities on board, after you've laid that foundational groundwork. So, these are some of the ways that you can help partners and charities out. Donate tickets to your event to them to use in their silent auctions and giveaways. Donate more tickets and donate some more tickets again. This helps you out as much as it helps them out, right? Other ways that you can support them and you can work this into partnership proposals and packages that you give them include providing them reach. Like you could, in some of your emails to your list as you develop them, you could say, hey, we just got this really awesome nonprofit on board. I got to do this really cool thing the first year that I ran FYF, where Earth Day rolled around, and I had just that week scored Sierra Club's Grand Canyon chapter, Arizona Sierra Club, as a major nonprofit partner. And I've got some resources to show you guys about exactly what scoring that nonprofit partner and the agreement to get like a statewide institution like Sierra Club with a mailing list of like 25 to 30,000 people on board as your nonprofit partner looks like. I've totally got some resources for you on that. But that whole deal went down right before Earth Day. Like it was so serendipitous. So I just got really excited and I sent out an email to my list on Earth Day saying, oh my God, it's Earth Day, and guess what? Sierra Club is partnering with us. And that was just the coolest thing ever to be able to announce to the list. But of course, it was the coolest thing ever for Sierra Club, because I then, the list I'd been building from August of 2008 to April of 2009 all then got emailed about their nonprofit. Nonprofits generally want help in about 3 different areas. They want help with visibility, reach, exposure for their nonprofit, awareness building. A lot of them call it building awareness for their cause. They want help with funding, so that's where you're donating tickets. And then if you can help gain them some more members into their nonprofit or some more volunteers for the nonprofit, those are other ways that nonprofits always need help, right? So get them people, get them exposure, reach, and get them funds. And those are the three things. If you can kind of fulfill those needs for a nonprofit, those are the three elements that you can always put in a nonprofit agreement, saying, here's what I'm going to do for you. And then ways that they can help you back. Never, ever, ever ask a nonprofit for money. How they can help you back include nonprofits sometimes have huge donations from media given to them, like public service announcements and things, and you can ask them if they'd like to thank you on one of their PSAs or media outreach, and you get some free media and platform that way. Any publicity that they do, like Sierra Club emailed their 25,000 members about the Flagstaff Yoga Festival. That really helped. That helped a ton more than the Yoga Journal ad the next year did. They also put like a physical ad for the Flagstaff Yoga Festival in their paper newsletter that they send out to all their members. That was really cool too. And of course, getting that kind of publicity for free didn't cost me anything. I just donated tickets. But it kind of, there's a rolling ball there. Prospective vendors and exhibitors also saw those advertisings, realized that this was a pretty large event happening in Flagstaff, and contacted me about exhibiting. So it helped me out in so many ways. And sometimes, like a nonprofit partner, or like the CEO of Big Brothers Big Sisters, when I worked with them here in Flagstaff, had such amazing connections. So they'll connect you to other people that you want to partner with a lot of the time. Or Stacey Hamburg, when she was here with Sierra Club, totally connected me to Luna Fest, which is this big festival that's held every year in Flagstaff to benefit the Grand Canyon Wolf Recovery Project. And I totally got involved with them through the connection of Sierra Club. So they can help you back in a few different ways. Another way that I've started recommending people work with nonprofits is like when they have large fundraisers, you can say, hey, who came and exhibited at your fundraiser? Do you think they'd be interested in this one too? Could you tell them about my event? And they'd be totally happy to help you with that kind of stuff a lot of the time. All that kind of stuff you can really spell out in a nonprofit partnership proposal. Volunteers, they're more competent than you think, and it's really easy to get them. That's my two pieces of advice there. If you have a large event that you can totally see, volunteers being helpful at, like I said, I use about 50 volunteers every year for Flagstaff Yoga Festival, and those 50 volunteers all get tickets to the festival in exchange for volunteering, right? So they rock out the lion's share of the actual on-the-ground work for me at the festival in exchange for just being there because they want to be there. So it's way easy to get volunteers. Just put a volunteer form up on your website. Want to volunteer at this event? And you can totally direct them to a forum, and then you can get in touch with them if they fill it out. And I'll give you guys sort of the volunteer email that I send out to my volunteers if you want in a resource package that I'm offering as well. I think that might be helpful. So they're more competent than you think. Here's a big lesson that I had to learn in the first year and second year of running the festival. The third year I had this down. As an event organizer, most event organizers by nature, we're a little bit type A. Okay, we like to have control of our own events because we know we can do a great job. But there's this kind of double side to that coin for a lot of us a lot of the time, where we also assume that we and only we can do the best job with our events that is possible, right? And that can lead us into this downward spiral of being miserably overtaxed, overworked, overtired, because we want to do everything ourselves because it's our baby and we want everything to be perfect. If you can find it in yourself to release a little bit of that control and really think highly of your support in your volunteers and see them for the competent, amazing adults that they are, and start to delegate a lot of the tasks that you end up with on your plate to them, your life is going to be so much easier. My volunteer staff totally sets up the entire school for me every year now. I have a setup day on Thursday. They move all of the desks and tables and chairs out of the entire school for me, put them in bleaker boxes, make sure the classrooms are spotless. I position a room host at the front of every room at the festival, and they're in charge of checking passes, taking tickets, making sure the presenter has everything they need. All of that thing, is kind of taken care of for me by volunteers. I'd be going crazy if I tried to do all of that myself. But I don't have to pay for staff. I totally highly recommend utilizing volunteers, especially in the healing arts industries. People are really into bhakti. They like to help out, and they are just thrilled to get a ticket to your event in exchange usually. So that's how I usually roll with that. One note that I forgot to actually put in this slide, just based on this though, this is just sort of an event organizer thing. When you get insurance for your event, which I highly recommend you do, I'm not an attorney, but I would totally recommend you get insurance, just based on my non-attorney experience. Insure the day before and after your event, as well as the 3 or 2 days or 1 day or whatever time period your event is. Ensure the time directly before that event starts and directly after the event ends. If you have a setup and cleanup time for your event, that is uber, uber, uber important. Get insurance for the setup and cleanup. And that way, if you have some sort of injury that happens with your volunteer staff that is setting up, you're covered. So little note of caution there. Okay, the fun part. Give. Give away tickets, but only if you are giving them away to the right demographic and you're capturing the right information from them. So again, Flagstaff Yoga Festival would not have the amazing exhibitors and vendors that support the event if I was just throwing tickets willy-nilly to whoever, and saying, hey, it's free, come one, come all. There's a whole thing in there about perceived value, okay, that is really important to pay attention to. What is the perceived value of a weekend-long yoga event? Well, let's check out the rock stars that have been doing this for like over a decade now, right? Let's check out Yoga Journal Conference. Yoga Journal Conference, last I checked, ran about $450 for a 2-day event. Now I'm doing a regional event. I don't have like the rock stars at the event, so the perceived value for Flagstaff Yoga Festival has to be a little bit lower than Yoga Journal, but I'm not going to say it's like $50 perceived value, right? It's got to be more than that. So that's kind of the process I went through to sort of say, let's call it $300 for the entire 3 days. That's an amazing, stellar deal. It makes it more accessible to the regional community, but it isn't too far off from what the high-end industry expectation really is. So, it's in that perceived value range. So then if you're giving away tickets to partners and sponsors, bear in mind the perceived value, the actual retail ticket price of your event, okay? So I'll give Lululemon $150 5-class punch cards to the festival if they're going to give them away in a promotion where folks have to buy between $100 and $150 worth of merchandise at a Lululemon store in order to get one of those passes, okay? Because I want the consumer receiving that pass to receive it for already spending on the same level that the pass is actually valued at, if that makes sense. Running it that way is going to make your exhibitors and vendors very, very happy, because they'll know then that the 1,000 people that they're being put in front of at Flagstaff Yoga Festival are people who have already proven that they will spend this amount of money, on a similar product in like a similar industry or a complementary product. So are they then quite likely to make my exhibitors money? Yes. If I had have given the tickets away, those guys haven't actually proven that they'll spend money, right, to get there. So maybe my exhibitors won't do so well, and maybe they won't come back next year. So give tickets away, but only if they're the right demographic and you're capturing the right info from them, which means make sure that those ticket sales have an RSVP direct to them, that leads them to a page on your website where you can capture their email and get them on your roster of attendance. That means you know how many people are coming to your event and you have an email list. We've kind of gone over that. Website outreach and forms for advertising and sponsorship. I totally didn't have this the first year I did the festival, and I spent hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of my life that year not hanging out with my kids like I wanted to, but on the phone with prospective vendors, explaining the same information to them over and over and over again. Well, it's about this size, it's at this location, you're going to be here, this is sort of the traffic flow, here are the hours, here's the cost, here's what you can get for this sponsorship, here's what you can get for the basic package. And I'd be saying the same thing over and over and over again. what I realized as I got smarter and did the event more is if I just got a simple form together via something like Office Autopilot or One Shopping Cart, I could just put a form on my site saying, hey, are you interested in sponsoring or advertising or vending with us? Fill out this form. They fill out the form, they press submit, and automatically the email management system that I have them rolled into pops out an email to them that says, hey, thanks for your interest in advertising with the Flagstaff Yoga Festival. Attached is a PDF document for you. It's our exhibitor package this year. It'll tell you all of the different packages for marketing with Flagstaff Yoga Festival that we've cooked up for you, the prices on all of them, and if you fancy any of them, call me and we'll set you up. So I just put all of that into a PDF form that I automatically emailed to them, and it saved me hundreds of hours. This is the only way that I can really run a 1,000-person event by myself as one person, is because I have a system in place to make all of the replicatable work, the work that has to be done over and over again, the information disseminating, I put it all online via email and web, and that way I can just refer people to those forums or to that sign up, or, hey, someone contacts me at the school and says, I'd love to vend, tell me all about it. I can say, well, I'm going to go to my daughter's recital right now, but if you go to this website address, there'll be a place for you to fill out this form, and it'll totally get you the PDF with all the information you need to know. Call me when you're ready to pay, and it cuts all of that work out of it for me. So for me, it's like I love having like a really high-end system to do all of that for, and that's why I pay for Office Autopilot. It's like paying for a virtual assistant, pretty much, everything that system can do. And oh my God, it is so worth its weight in gold to me because it saves me so much time. But when you're just starting out, maybe that isn't the most accessible thing for you to do price-wise and everything. You can start out with something as simple as MailChimp. Jules, I think you're on MailChimp right now, right? Which is free. Like Jules is going to...
Literally right now.
Yeah. MailChimp is a mail management system. I totally should have linked it on here, guys. I'm so sorry, but it's just MailChimp, MailChimp. MailChimp is an email management system that you can totally devise autoresponders and stuff like that on, and create forms. It isn't like the most user-friendly experience, like One Shopping Cart or Office Autopilot is a little more intuitive. But you can rock it out on MailChimp, and they've got amazing tutorials on there for you. It's a free email management system. The first 2,000 emails that you collect, you can host on there and email from there for free. So you can totally rock this out from MailChimp, and it won't cost you a dime for your first 2,000 contacts. Now, if you do want to have online ticket sales, which I highly recommend for a large event, otherwise, again, you're just going to hate your life if you're there punching in every single credit card order or processing every little check and adding all those people to your roster of a 1,000-person event by hand, right? So a shopping cart system, like One Shopping Cart, I think you can start off with like $47 a month or something, and it's totally worth it, because of the time and the energy it will save you in the long run. And, I mean, the thing about like actually getting some of this stuff up online is it makes stuff accessible to people. Like, you don't have to book appointments in coffee shops to go talk to people in person. If everything's automated online, your potential, especially for like past sales, right, is really a lot bigger. Like, you really need to like remove all of the boundaries between people and paying for your event. You've got to make it easy for people to buy their tickets. That doesn't necessarily mean make it cheap. It just means make it easy. People will totally, decide to come at the last minute to Flagstaff Yoga Festival, and they'll want to buy a ticket like the week before the event. And I'm running around like a crazy woman with all my volunteers, and I don't want to be there like checking a mailbox on the other side of the city for a check that didn't come in time, but I want to get them on the roster anyway, and spending all of my time like going to the bank with checks and all of that stuff. If you can just put a sales form up online, you've made it so easy for people to buy your event, you're going to be more profitable, way more profitable. I can't underscore enough how much your profitability will just soar if you automate some of this stuff, like, getting an exhibitor prospectus out to people or a presenter prospectus. I mean, I used to also spend hundreds of hours on the phone with presenters describing the event to them. This year, I put all of that in like God, that document was huge, right, Jules? It was like a book. Like, you got it. You presented at the festival. But that yeah, it was huge, but it left no stone unturned. It left no question unanswered. It was like a book that I gave them. But really, it's like I required all of the prospective presenters to read over the prospectus, tell me that they'd read it and they understood what they were getting into before they came and said, I want to do a workshop, because it just cut all of that work out for both of us. It was a great productivity piece. You know, if I knew that they totally grokked the event, they totally got it, and then they said, put me on the schedule, cut hundreds of hours out of my work life that year, which again is very, very important if you're running an event like this pretty much by yourself, right? So ticket sales, some ideas for you. What other events are like yours that are already out there? And what differentiates your event from those other events? So like Jules needs to start thinking right now about, okay, there's Flagstaff Yoga Festival, there's Telluride Yoga Festival, there might be some other festivals coming up across the country. And by the way, guys, we have an LLC for all of us that we're just using as like, if you want to like collaborate and work with other event organizers in the healing arts, and you want to be part of like a large group of people that totally support and collaborate and you know, really partner with each other on you know, reaching each other's networks for each other. That's kind of what we're going for with our thing. I do have an LLC called the Community Yoga Festivals Project, so if you're planning a yoga event, I can totally tell you more about that offline, but it's basically to give you platform for your yoga event. But healing arts in general, you know, look out for other events like yours, see how they can support you, see how you can support them, collaborate with them. That being said, what makes your event different? Well, of course, you know, if it's like a regional event, like Jules is in South Bay, Los Angeles area, Hermosa Beach, and surrounding community, that in itself differentiates itself from Flagstaff Yoga Festival, right? She's got the Pacific right there. I'm in a pine forest. So you can totally see, even without going into the content of the event, how she's positioning herself as different from Flagstaff Yoga Festival. She's also going to have a whole day, I believe you've got like a beginner's track going on, and then you've got like a teacher training type day, right, Jules?
Yeah, I'll have an industry event the day before, just for all the presenters, so that they all get treated to some sort of day-long conference of their own.
Absolutely.
And then, of course, we'll have yoga for surfers, because we are by the beach.
Yoga for surfers, absolutely. Where I've totally got to do the yoga for mountain bikers here next year. Yeah, so it's like you've got to think about how to. Now, the term blue ocean, by the way, when you go to that resource deal that I've linked for you on the left-hand side after we're done here, it just says must-have resources. I've got a couple of book recommendations that I've thrown at you. One of the books that I love that helps me really think through how to differentiate my event from everything else that might already be out there, or anything that I'm doing, how to differentiate you, is a little book called The Blue Ocean Strategy. And this book, the tagline on this book is, let me see if I can like blow it up here so I can really get it in front of me. It's how to create uncontested market space and make the competition irrelevant, is the tagline on The Blue Ocean Strategy. And so what it's really telling you to do is look at the market, check that market out, see what people are saying about what's already out there, see what people are saying they might like, and go create a little blue ocean for yourself, meaning you're not in the red ocean of competition anymore. You've created a blue ocean where you're really the only player in your market. Even though you're a part of collaborating with all of these other things, there is not going to be another South Bay Yoga Conference. It's just not possible because you're you. You've blue oceaned the event. So that book, The Blue Ocean Strategy, is totally linked for you there in that resource section, guys, and I highly recommend it. Make it easy for people to buy the tickets. We've already talked about that, automating. And always, 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 always sell out the event. Fill the event. If you have a space that can hold 500 people, get 500 people there. If you have a space that can hold 30 people, get 30 people at that event. By hook or by crook, you know, if you have to, you know, take on 10 more nonprofit partners and 10 more exhibitors or 10 more cross promotions or joint ventures to make that happen, do it. You know, even if like you're not really into the media part of it, but you know, you can cross promote with all of these different media saying like, hey, if you score me a full page ad, I did this with like LA Yoga the first year, actually, Jules. Felicia Tomasco actually came out to the Flagstaff Yoga Festival, so I can I'd totally love to just like get busy with all of you guys down there again. She's really cool. But
Yeah,
what
she is.
Yeah, they did like this awesome trade with me where they like gave me an ad in LA Yoga Magazine, which has I think like a distribution at the time. I know they've gone like more online and things since there, but at the time they distributed something like 90,000 copies of that every month.
Yeah, they're
They
big.
gave me an ad in there in exchange for like a couple of passes, and then I put their yoga magazines in the tote bags, you know. But
Great.
I pushed passes on them because I was like, please, please, please give away the passes. They were helping me reach my attendance numbers to keep my vendors happy, you know. And I was like, thank you so much for the ad. And they're like, oh, thank you for the tickets. Thank you for the tote bag inserts. I totally rocked out, cross-promotionally for both of us. Always sell out the event. Always get the capacity there. And, of course, the main benefit, other than just, like, making sure your vendors make money to that, is it's the energy of your event. If you have a packed, busy event full of happy people, it's just going to feel better. You're going to get more positive reviews of your event than if you just had a couple of people show up who were sort of uncomfortable because there weren't many people there and they were all like self-conscious and stuff, you know. Totally sell out the event. It's totally going to work in your favor to do that, just like the Grateful Dead concert, right? Okay. Oh my God, I totally cut off the top of this slide. Oh well. I think we're done. I think that's kind of the end of the deal. I'm going to go to this page like in a little while. Actually, I've got like a really cool offer there for you for more support. Jules, what do you think? Did I miss anything out? I want to kind of like go back to like Q&A for a little bit here before I finish up, and I'm going to totally refresh the questions page here, but I don't see that any questions came in other than yours.
I did send one in a little while ago.
Yeah.
Okay, so I hope you guys have enjoyed that training. Like I said, I did kind of chop that up from a training I did earlier on, but it still seemed incredibly relevant to me, so something that I thought you could get a lot of value out of. It was a full 2 hours on events, and that's just kind of how I roll in my trainings. I tend to really go over the top with information and leave no stone unturned for you so that you have literally everything you need from my trainings, and you don't feel like you're lacking in any information after them. So on the back of that, I've realized, just sort of reviewing this and editing it for you here for the webcast at Mapping Your Dream, that you may have been really inspired by this training, perhaps to go and create an event of your own. But no matter what your aspirations are in your entrepreneurial business, I think I have an offer for you today that is going to help you get further towards your goal of where you would like to go. So as you may already be aware, I have twice a year a really neat event just for arts and healing arts entrepreneurs like yourself called Successful Spirit Summit. And it's a full 2-day immersive training with me personally. This coming May 5th and 6th, I'm holding it in Phoenix, Arizona. There's going to be another one in October live as well. And I'd like to invite you to come to the summit. Not only will you get an entire 2 days of training for really shoring up and developing from the right strategy out your healing arts or arts-based entrepreneurial business, but you'll also be in the room with an incredible array of other entrepreneurs just like you. So it's a fantastic networking event. In Successful Spirit Summit itself, we go into so many amazing components strategically in our training that are just going to be incredibly valuable for you as an entrepreneur to learn more about. We go into how to do the market research, the insight sort of section of your business, how to really delve into what you already know is going on in your field to really outline and hone in on a market need that you can then go and fill as an entrepreneur. We also then go and we develop really customized business models for you, like you've seen in this training, some of which have never been done before. They might be very tailored, customized blue ocean business models, just like your own. We actually lead you through exercises and workshops in Successful Spirit Summit that help you devise those, and you get to work one-on-one with me and the other attendants to do that. And then on the Sunday, on the second day of the training, we actually give you hands-on implementation of the skills that you need to actually develop your business. So if any part of that get a website section of this training was fuzzy or foggy for you, know that at the summit, at the event, we literally hold you we hold your hand step by step through that process. You'll actually watch me and be able to take notes on and sometimes follow along with me as we literally go through the step of getting a website up without a web developer, all by yourself. You'll have a ton of support there. You will be able to do that, I promise. I personally, I'm an English major. I'm not a techie of any sort, so everything that I will show you to put together, everything that I was talking about in this training is completely attainable to you, and we will literally walk your hand through it, hold your hand through it at the summit. And then we also give you a lot more, if you liked the action steps slide in this training, know that we do that for your entire business and your entire entrepreneurial career in the healing arts. On Sunday afternoon, we give you the step-by-step plan of what to do when. And you're just going to love this event. It's just, it's a tremendous encyclopedic amount of information and training for you in a weekend. And it's done in a way that you'll find really works for you and is palatable for you, because you're not going to be in the room with a bunch of get rich quick internet marketers or a bunch of techies. You're going to be in the room with other people like yourself, yoga teachers, astrologers, intuitive practitioners, artists, and we all learn together and we all speak the same language, so nothing is going to be over your head in this training. And if you can't make the dates of the next summit coming up, know that I also have a Successful Spirit Summit teleseminar version, which is an immersive webcast version of the entire summit that we'll be doing in a live interactive format that you can take from any computer in the world, and you'll be able to log on, you'll be able to chat with me live, you'll be able to get on the phone with me live, a lot like Jules was live with me in this last call, and you'll be able to have almost the same experience that you would have at the live summit in Phoenix, only if you can't make that, we take that into a webcast format for you, and you get an invite for yourself and a couple of friends to that online summit when you buy this package that I have for you today. And that doesn't replace then, if you can't make it to the next summit coming up, but you can make the online telecast version, not only do you get all the recordings of the telecast in case you missed them, but you also get tickets to the next summit, in the next 6-month period. So that holds your spot then for that one coming up and gives you a bit more planning time for that. In addition to the summit tickets itself, I'm also rolling into this membership a complete membership to Successful Spirit Online for you, which is a whole membership website of video-based trainings that walk your hand step by step through, like follow my cursor across the screen, pause when you need to catch up at your own rate, trainings on literally, technically, leading you every step of the way through all of the web and techie stuff that we were talking about today. It makes it very obtainable for you to do all of that by yourself. I promise. I mean, I've developed all of my websites myself, and I give you all of the tools in Successful Spirit Online and all of the training and the step-by-step follow my cursor style trainings that you need to do the same thing for your business. In addition to that, as a member of Successful Spirit Online, every week you get a recorded webcast from me that leads you through the next point of your business strategically. So from the summit, we use the summit as a jumping off point into a full year of training for you that's there for you if you need it. And, we've got all of these amazing webcasts that we've filmed for you over the last year that every week lead you to the next logical step of what you need to do next in your business. And in addition to those recorded webcasts, you do get the opportunity twice a month after the summit to be on a call live with me, where I'm literally going to answer any questions you have. And that call is one that you'll be able to speak with me me live on and get some live mentoring one-on-one with me on, and that happens twice a month after the summit for the duration of your Successful Spirit Online Mastermind membership. In addition to all of that, you also get a membership to the Abundant Spirit Club, which is a monthly series of interviews. Every month you get a recorded interview with me and someone who's really done really well for themselves as an entrepreneur in the arts or the healing arts. And I literally just pick their brains and ask them how they did, what their business model was. And then we take what we learned from that stellar entrepreneur in the Abundant Spirit Club interview, and we break down the model of their business for you and show you, if you were inspired by their business model, how you could go and do something similar for yourself. And we sort of show you all of the components of that business model technically. And then in addition to that, you also get a monthly recorded session with me in a sort of book club that we run just for you guys. It's called the Reader's Circle, and in the Reader's Circle every month we together get to read one of the most wonderful texts or books in marketing or sociology or business strategy out there. But then we take all of the takeaway lessons from that month's book, and again we extrapolate what's important from that information and relevant and useful for the arts or the healing arts entrepreneur. So we take all of the world's best texts on marketing and business and social strategy, and we then get takeaway lessons from those books just for you guys in the field that you're in. So that's the package that I've developed for you here today. And the package basically is going to include a couple of tickets to Successful Spirit Summit, like I said. And if you can't make the next one coming up, know that you do get a couple of tickets to the Successful Spirit Telesummit and a placeholder couple of tickets for you and your friends at the next summit coming up in about 6 months. You get the membership to Successful Spirit Online, like I said, and and you also get, this is something that wasn't on the previous page, a membership to a private network of other arts and healing arts entrepreneurs like yourself who are ready to start collaborating and partnering with you. You might have seen a little bit in this last training how that becomes important when you get the framework of your business set up. Then you're looking for people to play with and help promote you and collaborate with you. And all of that goes on in a membership forum that I already have, and we already have about 50 members in there for you to go and play with right now. It's called the JV Club. JV stands for Joint Venture Club, and you get a lifetime membership to the JV Club when you come in at this package. There's over $1,800 worth of tickets and membership sites and trainings in this package for you today. But because you've already sat through 2 hours of my training, I figure this is probably a pretty good deal for you. But you've already expressed so much interest in what we're doing, and I just wanted to really thank you and reward you for taking the time to really improve your own business by going through this session with me today. I'm actually offering it today for you for $497, which is about a $1,200 discount, and we're breaking that up, even if you need us to, into 3 monthly payments of $167, and that's all you'll pay ever for this. So if this sounds like a great deal for you, go ahead and snap it up. There's an add to cart button right under this video that you can go ahead and click through and check out, and as soon as you've gone through that checkout process, you'll hear from me via email on the other end with information about how to get to the next summit or the next telesummit if the live one doesn't work for you. And then that summit coming up is going to be our kicking off point into your membership. So the summit is sort of the first training that you're really going to have, and it's about 16 hours live for you. And then from that, if it's far enough out, we'll probably get around to setting you up with the JV Club and the online mastermind before the summit. But if the summit is very close and handy, the summit will be what we do with you first. So you'll just look out for an email from me after this, and we'll get you all set up with this entire package, and you'll get all of the details of the bi-weekly calls that are coming up that you can get on live with me and pick my brain live, and there's a Q&A opportunity for you before every single one of those live calls, so we'll get you underway with that live coaching with me as soon as we can as well. So I hope you can join us at the next summit. I hope you can take advantage of this offer. I honestly, I don't think you're going to get anywhere a better deal on a package like this for $167 3 times. So take advantage of it, and hopefully I'll see you soon.